Hey guys, we're here for the question and answer session with Artem and Ashot. We had some technical difficulties to stream live, so now we're going to record the product and we'll upload it shortly for everyone to watch without any problems and at any time on demand. So we apologize for these inconvenience and for taking your time, but at least you will be able to watch and rewatch the video as often as you want, so that you can also get the most of it through understanding all the details, technical details, which might not be too bad to listen to them a few times over, especially when Ashot now explains the staking system, which he started doing before, but unfortunately you couldn't hear him. So now here we are again. Ashot, nice to have you here. Can you go through the staking process in the masternode proof of stake?
Yeah, so masternode or system node is chosen to stake based on recent payments they have, which is called a stake pointer. Stake pointer needs to have at least 100 confirmation, and the age of stake pointer needs to be less than 1 day. So there's a block generation time. We go over it to find out if the node generates a hash smaller than the target, and also masternode or and system node collateral amount is taken into account, which means that masternodes have a bigger probability to win a block than system nodes.
Thanks. That's really interesting. I also saw. Yeah, please.
I just want to clarify something, because many people ask this question directly: can I stake using my wallet? And the answer to this question is no. The nature of this proof of stake system is that masternodes and system nodes only can stake in the system, and by having such a system, we kind of encourage people setting up nodes to make the network bigger and stronger. And the second thing about the stake pointer that Ashot just explained, I want to say that the reason for doing this is to have a deterministic masternode at least. So there is no situation when somebody has a masternode and they spend the collateral, but keep, being in the network like they're staking. That's why the last reward is used as a stake pointer.
Okay, interesting.
Or multiple rewards. Multiple rewards during the last day, as I said, and the more rewards you have, the higher probability for you to win the block. But in the end of the day, since the probability is approximately the same for all the nodes, eventually it's all the same on the big time scale.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, since I noticed that in the wallet, when you're testing, I see that there's a difference between staking and minting. Can you explain this?
Staking and mining?
Yeah, like minting. So there is a minter's reward and a staker's reward.
Okay.
What is exactly the difference if only the nodes are staking?
If I understand the question correctly, so master nodes and system nodes get their rewards as before, right now 0.45 for system node and 2.25 for master node. These are master nodes and system nodes reward, but also staking node will receive 1.8 crown. This is a staker. This amount previously got the miner, proof of work miner, but now this amount will get staker.
So that is the minting reward. I might be asking it wrong. I'm not sure.
Okay, these are totally different rewards. Like they have different algorithms of how you receive it. Like the system node and master node reward is the same as it was before. You get in the reward for participating in the network as a node. And the staking reward is your reward for winning a block. Basically, it's the same as with proof of work when you had a bunch of miners and the one who was able to find the hash for the block first, they get this reward. So it's the same here. And whether it's going to be a system node or a master node, the one who's going to find the block first is going to receive this reward, 1.8 crown.
So, okay. So it will not be, let's say, the same master node that receives the staking reward like it used to before. It will not be the minter of the same block. It can be any other master or system node receiving the 1.8 for that current block, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't the same. Like it wasn't the same before. Before, a miner had to pay a system node and a master node that was chosen through the algorithm.
Mm-hmm. And now,
sorry.
And now it will be. So if it's not the miner paying them, how does it work?
The minter who found the block gonna pay them. It can be like the master node X has found a block, and at this block the master node Y should receive the master node reward. So in this block, this master node X is paying himself 1.8, and is paying 2.25 to another master node and 0.45, I guess, to the system node.
Okay, so it can be said that master nodes and system nodes will now be doing the work of the miner in finding the blocks, but also in paying master nodes and system nodes the rewards according to the deterministic model that you have described before.
Yeah, correct.
Perfect. I think this is a clear explanation. And of course, if anyone has further questions, you're very welcome to ask them on Discord or Telegram. Reach out. We're always happy to discuss these things. So let's move on to the next question, if you agree, guys. The next question is also from Mark Brooker, and he is asking what the reward distribution will be after the switch to proof of stake.
Before we go on, I just want to say maybe somebody wants to join the Zoom call and have, ask questions directly here. So you can just use the link to YouTube channel, or because, well, if it would be me after maybe the explanation, I would have questions, and how I'm like,
sure,
I'm not able to ask them. Maybe
let's open this up. Let's make this more interesting. Okay, so I sent out some invitations through Telegram and Discord, and maybe someone will spontaneously join us. We can just continue while people join in.
All right.
And then we will be happy to greet anyone joining. Okay, let's move on. So the second question by Mark is what the reward distribution will be after the switch to proof of stake.
Yeah, so currently the block distribution in the code that we are testing is the same as we have in mainnet in proof of work system. The only difference is that 1.8 crown that we're going to proof of work miner will go to staker. Yeah, that's the reward now. So 0.45 for system node, 2.25 for master node, 1.8 for staker, and 1.5 to the budget payment.
This is the distribution with a 6 crown block, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, correct.
But this 6 crown block is only temporary. So if the governance has to maintain 25% of a 5 crown block, I suppose that there will have to be some kind of redistribution of the rewards. Is that correct, or?
Yeah, but I don't think we have final decision for this, how to make it right now. But this is what we have right now, yeah.
I think there was a conversation in one of the GitLab issues, and there was a proposed distribution. The majority of people agreed, so I don't see the better option, but I can check right now how many I proposed.
Hello, Jan. Welcome to the call.
Hi, guys. Just tweeting in.
Hey.
We can go on with other questions. Well,
So to wrap up the second question, Mark, the current distribution will probably not remain, since the governance system taking up 25% in a 5 crown block would suppose that it's 1.25 crown, and there would be 3.75 crown left for master node, system node, and minter, if my maths is not off. And so it would be 3.75 crown being distributed through master nodes and system nodes, part of them as minting process and the other part as reward process, which means that, again, if my maths are not off, the staking reward of master nodes and system nodes will be a bit smaller than it is currently, but will be boosted through the minter's reward, reaching a higher total reward than the one that is currently given.
Oh yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, I found the issue, Artem. Did you find it? Where you use?
No, what's the number?
That's 246.
Thanks, Ashot. Welcome, Max.
I can just share the screen to show you this issue quickly. So there was a discussion going on, and basically my suggestion was like this. So the master node reward is 37, the system node 8, the miner is 30, and the governance is 25, which is like we agreed on the budget distribution and we implemented this. But in order to restore the blocks, we used the 6 crown blocks. So from this point, we just need, as you said, like distribute 375 between master node, system node, and proof of stake. So, like, yeah, it's not hard to recalculate this.
Yeah.
It's going to be 1.25 for the governance system, and just let me. It's going to be 1.5 for the miners, the minters. 1.85 for the master nodes, and 0.4 for system nodes. That's my suggestion, and well, I suppose we need to submit a proposal maybe to finalize this decision, but maybe we just can go for it because I don't remember if there are any different opinions on how to do this. Jose, we don't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry. Hello, welcome Andreas, welcome Max. I was saying that it's probably a good moment to retake this discussion, not now in the call, but in the next weeks, so that we have a final decision ready for when proof of stake is released. And Artem, maybe you can repeat the numbers. It's 0.4 for system node, 1.5 for minter, and
1.85 for master nodes.
1.85 for master nodes. So if a master node receives both minter and stake reward, it will be receiving a bit over 3 crown. And in the event of system node, it would be almost 2 crown at 1.9 crown. So we will see a slight increase of the return on investment numbers, which is of course something that the community should celebrate. I suppose after the halving, the rewards got lower, and I think this has been a subject of worry for some community members that are staking. Okay, so let's move on through question 3 and 4. They both address the features that will be released with the 2 upcoming releases or milestones, Jade and Emerald. And these questions were also asked by Mark. And the questions are, what features will be slated with Jade and Emerald?
Okay, so for Jade, I think that we have 2 main features. One of them is unique address prefixes, and the other one is proof of stake. Artem, do we have any other?
There are some small bug
fixes
or small features like some installation improvements, but these are the major major features. And after this release is ready, Crown will be able to have hardware wallets and the proof of stake system in place.
Awesome. So Jade, will include proof of stake and unique address prefixes, and Emerald will include a non-fungible token framework and
what?
Non-fungible. How do you call it? Fungible?
Okay, yeah, I call it non-fungible.
Fungible.
But the point is that it just the natural development of the same ideas from the community when was the idea to create an API for registration, different stuff. It's just a novel term that incorporates what you can put on blockchain and what metadata and information you can associate with that. So it's basically a unique asset that is represented by an ID, which usually looks like a hash, like a SHA-256 hash. And we were also working on the new governance system, both of those features based on special transactions. And the idea is just to deliver minimal functionality in the testnet, so we can get a feedback, the project can get a feedback from anyone who is willing to use those APIs to build something using Crown platform, and so they can give us the feedback. Is that something they need? Do they need something else? Are they going to use it? What else is necessary to build applications? Is it usable at all? So we need to get a feedback. So the first step is to put it in the testnet and make sure that people receive information about this and how to use it. So the communication pipeline should be clear, because there's no point to releasing it into the mainnet because we don't know how people are going to use it yet. So
So it will be a framework for special transactions that can be used on testnet in order to find out what it can be used for, or what can be changed before putting it on mainnet.
Yeah, and another important thing is that there are different stages of development. Right now we're just trying to deliver the minimal functionality, which is basically a registration of those tokens. But there are functionality like exchange of them, because that's what creates a driving force for economy applications. You need to be able to exchange them. And this first piece of software, there is no point to put it on the mainnet because you can just play with it, but you cannot build an end user software. That's why we need somebody to use it in some kind of prototype. Yeah.
Awesome. And the last question from Mark is, how long do you think will be the interval between the two releases?
It's a good question, and it's not clear yet, because it's all about the feedback from developers. Because the testnet release might be around the same time as with the Jade, maybe a bit later, but it's not something that people who own nodes gonna care about right now, because the mainnet will not be dependent on this. So I don't have the clear answer. We will need to find out more from people who want to build something using it.
Awesome. Okay. So this is really interesting. I didn't know that. The testnet release of these features will almost be at the same time than the mainnet release of Jade.
It might be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We still have some challenges with the there is an sorry, NFT part, and there is a governance part, which is like a new governance that is not dependent on, sorry.
Take your time.
This governance part is not dependent on the budget governance system. And this new governance is a framework to vote for different entities known as agents in our ecosystem. And right now we do not have funding to work on this. We don't have a developer to work on this. So the burden goes on me. And there are many unanswered questions about estimates that we cannot provide right now. But the work is going on, and I'm going to show the simple creation of NFT transaction later. So we just need to stay tuned and read the news.
Great. Thank you very much for this. And also thank you for your questions, Mark. To wrap up this first part of the Q&A, maybe we can say that at a development call that happened this week, without wanting to promise that the state will be kept, it was said to be very realistic to have the proof of stake release and the unique address prefixes by the end of March. And we're really looking forward to this. But we cannot promise that this will be the date, because first there are some issues that need to be ironed out, and Ashot is working on them. So once these major issues are out of the way, now that the proof of stake testnet is stable, then we will be able to set the date for the main network and switch to proof of stake. We're almost there. We're talking about 6 weeks, and time flies, as we know. So let's stay tuned and wait for an deterministic date, right? Okay, I have one question, which is actually my own. Since now the process of staking and minting changes a bit, is there anything that masternode or system node owners need to take into account? For example, is VPS security now more important than it was before? Is there any additional configuration needed, or can masternode and system node owners just keep running their nodes and update to the new protocol once it's launched?
First of all, for the installation and all the process is the same as before. The only thing to add in config file is that they need to add staking equals to 1. Although I think that for masternode and system node owners, there is no reason to not stake. We could change this option to be true by default, and if for some reason owners don't want to stake, they can just write staking equals to 0. That's for the setup part. For the security, I think keeping VPS, keeping hosting secure is important as before. And private key of masternode needs to kept secure.
So we're talking about the private key of the masternode, which will be the same as now.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think there is kind of a really relaxed way of working with these masternode and system node private keys when we take into account that if people use third-party hosting services, they need to provide these keys, or even the hosting services that generates a key for the user. Do you think this is a security issue, or
hosting providers, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I think if there is a hosting provider hosting, let's say 50% of master nodes and system nodes, that's a security issue. But because we have distributed network, also hosting providers are distributed, and new providers are coming to the and providing their services, and I don't think that any hosting provider can have a majority of master nodes and system nodes, because we saw previously there were hosting provider offering services and having more than 1,000 master nodes and system nodes, and then new providers came in and they lose their, so yeah.
Okay, so not a practical problem in the sense that the hosting is very distributed, but something to keep an eye on in case that there appears a hegemonic hosting provider that is hosting majority of
anyone having a lot of private keys of master nodes and system nodes is not a good thing anyway.
So okay, that's a really interesting answer. Thanks for that. Maybe we can make a small break from the planned questions, because we have quite a few people here in the call with us, and maybe there's someone who wants to ask something live, and then we continue with the scheduled questions. So guys, if you're here and want to ask something, go for it, and welcome to all of you.
Yeah, hi guys, Jan here. I have a question actually concerning the prefix change. I understand that it's ready, but I think that we will also have to notify our guys at Bittrex and Abit and other exchanges, right? Do you have an idea if this is a big change on their setup? Because somebody says that yes, because the address change is more than just a simple thing. So what do you think? Is it like a hard thing for them to switch? And I think we will need to notify them as soon as possible.
I think we need to ask them, because just reinstalling the wallet, it's not hard, depends on their subsystem. So it's a question to them.
So it shouldn't be that hard.
I don't think so, but I don't have enough information to answer this question. I don't know their setup. I don't know, like ideally it shouldn't be hard, but I remember the point in time where we had one of the VPS providers that, had a huge problem with us changing one command in the console. Yeah, like in the RPC API. It had the same functionality, but it just changed the command name. It created a big problem for him. So I don't know their setup. It's a question to them.
Okay, and once we have the hardware wallet ready, can someone basically run nodes out of there without having, let's say, proper computer?
From where?
For instance, from Trezor or Ledger.
I don't think so. It's a wallet. It's not a machine. Like, you can have your private keys there. Okay, are you saying that the hardware wallet will contain private keys that are not connected to the that are not saved on a desktop wallet? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, I don't think so.
So if you allow me, Artem, to say something about this, for example, I contacted Koinomi and they said it's not a problem. We just need to notify them like with some time, like 2 weeks. And
yeah,
then,
it's Koinomi, but we are talking about Bittrex.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying this. I remember Hyper also asked them before, and they told us if we do not need to support both of the address types, then it shouldn't be a problem. But again, we cannot, be responsible for Bittrex changes. We need to ask them.
So this will be something that we do probably in upcoming weeks. As soon as we have release date, we notify the exchanges and see what they say. Probably they will handle it differently and might even have different conditions depending on the exchange. So let's stay tuned for that. Thanks, Jan, for your question. Anyone else fancy asking something?
Maybe let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on then. Okay, so let's move on to the NFTs, because the NFTs is something that I think is not understood by many people, or something that has not been looked at closely by many people, but it entails a lot of possibilities, as NFTs, as I understand them, are a possibility of transacting on a blockchain beyond, let's say, sending coins. So it allows you to transact different items and register them. So the question here is, what are NFTs and how are they being implemented into Crown?
Okay, so speaking shortly, NFT stands for non-fungible token. The difference in general, between a token, a fungible token, and non-fungible token is that a fungible token, one of each equals to the same one. It means that the currency, fiat currency we use is fungible because like $1 equals another $1. The same is true for the ICO type of token, ERC20 tokens, which means like, I don't know what, one Ether equals another one Ether. And fungible token, it's a representation of a unique asset in digitalized form. It might be digitalized by nature, or it might be a digitalized asset of a physical asset. It means that basically any item that has some structure and unique properties can be seen as a non-fungible token. In Ethereum, non-fungible tokens are supported using ERC 721 standard, and they have specific APIs that let people access those tokens and exchange different types of them using Ethereum network. In our case, we're going to have a similar interface, but the structure of blockchains is different. And the structure of implementation is different too, because in Ethereum, you have an ability to implement your business logic inside of ERC-721 token contract. It means you can integrate your logic inside of the blockchain. In Crown, we do not have this opportunity, but instead we have simplicity for developers to create and exchange non-fungible tokens using APIs. If I would give you an example of NFT, like compared to a fungible token, it could be a airline ticket in a digital form, for example, because one plane ticket is not equal to another one. It might have a different time of flight. It might have a different seat. It can be a business class, etc., etc. The rise of non-fungible token was noticed by the CryptoKitties project. That's the first biggest implementation that took attention from the crypto community. So what we're doing here is an experiment to let people use it and give us the feedback. Is that something they want to use? Because the main competitive advantage of this is the simplicity of implementation. So basically, it's going to be much easier for you to implement a new NFT without writing a business logic, but the business logic that you need should be implemented on the classic backend server side, not on the blockchain side. The blockchain side going to have a set of specific rules to handle those NFTs. So I hope this answer your question, and if you're interested more in what NFTs in general, just can Google it. There are a bunch of articles. And as far as I know, it's the only okay, maybe not the only, but one of not many projects trying to implement unique assets registration on a Bitcoin-like blockchain.
Yeah, that's a good point. We mainly see this on Ethereum, and I'm not sure, probably on EOS too. But yeah, CryptoKitties were on Ethereum, and later experiments also. There's also a series of CryptoPunks, and there's also an increasing number of collectible cards that are based on non-fungible token technology. And yeah, they're then digital collectible cards. So for example, I don't know, famous football players or rock stars. But it can be used for any area using, as you say, in this case, the Crown API, which is one of the most potent tools that Crown or Bitcoin offers, because it's a permissionless API that anyone can access and anyone can write or request things to without needing permission to do so from anyone. So it's great that we're experimenting in that direction, and hopefully once this is released on testnet, there's people testing it and using it and giving feedback, as you say, so that it can be improved and expanded. I don't know if you want to add something, or we can move on.
I don't know if there are any questions. I just need to connect the charger, so excuse me for a minute. Sure. I didn't think this call would take so much time.
Yeah.
So, no.
Hello, Luke. Welcome. So maybe when Artem is back and connected, it's a good moment to show a demo transaction of an NFT.
Okay.
I got this very big.
All right.
I'm not sure if you heard me.
Yeah, I did.
Cool. What do you think of it?
Sure.
Cool.
All right. So I'm gonna share my screen right now. In Zoom, I suppose you share a special window. So okay, what do you see?
I can see the comment line.
Okay. So right now I'm gonna start my local testnet, my sandbox testnet. Just gonna, it contains 3 nodes: the miner, seed, and the wallet. I'm just gonna stop the wallet. Oops. All right. Okay, wallet is running. Miner is running. Seed is running. Okay, I'm gonna stop the wallet so I can start it from user interface.
Yeah, that's helpful.
So I'm gonna stop sharing this window and share another one. All right, can you see the wallet?
I see black screen right now.
Yeah, me too.
All right, that's not what I want. Can you see the wallet now?
Yeah, that looks familiar.
All right, it's good to hear. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna write on a comment that's gonna register a new token, and you just type in NF token register. The next parameter is NFT protocol. NFT protocol is just a string. It's just a short name that must be between 3 and 12 symbols, and it's a unique identifier of NFT protocol for each separate NFT type. So for example, if you want to use timestamping mechanisms for documents, we can have a protocol that we name doc. It's a short name.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Artem, but we can only see the main wallet window, not the console. If we're meant to see that as well, where you're typing the comments.
Yeah. All right. It's not great. It's not good that it's not good that Zoom doesn't let you share the whole monitor, just windows. Maybe, I don't know how to do that. But do you see it now?
Yeah, now we see it.
All right. So basically, this is a unique identifier of the protocol. So if it's going to be a protocol for timestamping documents, we can call it doc, for example, right? Or if we want to implement an equal NFT as a ERC, like CryptoKitties, we can also register this protocol with a name, with a metadata schema of what information is going to be contained there. And there can be properties like, is it transferable or not? Is it mutable or not? And this is kind of the simplicity compared to like Ethereum NFT, where you need to implement a business logic. Here you just need to type the parameters and you're done. Right now, the protocols are not implemented yet, but we can use any names of them in order to register just simple transactions. So like before that, I also need to generate a new address, which is going to be the owner of this document, basically, or NFT in this case. So I'm generating a new address, and now I'm writing down NFT token register doc. Right now, I need to type an identifier. In the case of document, it's just a SHA-256 of this document, or like any text basically. So just gonna stop sharing this screen, and I'm gonna share my browser window so you can see what I am timestamping and registering. All right, so this is a hash generator. Later, I think we just can use built-in generator in Crown Wallet. Right now, I'm just gonna write down, let's say, I claim that Bitcoin will cost $25,000 in 2020, right? So I make this prediction. Let's think about it as a document or prediction or idea. It can be anything, because the simplest use case for these NFTs is timestamping something, but also including different properties and including ownership of this asset, in this case, a timestamped document. All right. So I'm calculating just this hash. Oops. Okay. I'm copying it. Going back to the wallet. Type in the hash. Type in the address. And it can also contain additional metadata information that I'm not going to include right now. So press enter. Now you can see the transaction is sent to the network. You paid the fee for sending this transaction. And right now it's in the mempool. So we need to wait at least one block until the transaction is added to the blockchain. And after this, we'll be able to list transactions, NFT transactions that are in the blockchain. For this, we can use command NFT token list. And now it doesn't show anything because the new block is not added yet. It can be only seen after it's in the chain already. So we're just gonna wait for block number 6963.
While we're waiting, I have a question. By adding the public address, that's how you, let's say, connect this NFT to its owner, right?
Yes, correct. Because if you think about the timestamping mechanism in Bitcoin, where you can use like a burning transaction, you're pretty limited in what you can do with it. You just have 40 bytes. You can put some hash in there, and you can use another 8 bytes in order to put metadata in there. And here it's a totally different approach. Here, timestamping of a hash of a document is the simplest use case. It's just a simple thing you can do with it. And already here you can have additional metadata. You can have a specific index for NFTs to make it faster, retrieval faster. And you can have ownership here. And later you'll be able to also transfer them between different people and between different addresses, let's say, etc. So we already have this like additional nodes. So I'm just gonna write down NF token list. It shows us the transaction ID, which is the same as this one. And in order to have extended information, you just add the last parameter as true, which is mean verbose, and you can see the block hash, the registration transaction hash, the height of registration, the timestamp, which is today, like 3 minutes ago, the identifier of this protocol, the ID itself, and 2 addresses, the owner address, and the second is admin address, which is additional parameter that can be used to change metadata without signature of the owner if you want to delegate administration of your assets to another party.
Amazing.
So yeah, this is just the simplest usage of it, and as soon as as soon as we have like a simple application that uses this functionality to provide a web interface for people to use it, it's already a simple use case for timestamping anything. And later people can think about different ways of how they want to utilize this technology. And yeah, the important thing for us to get the feedback is that something people want to use. Is it convenient? Is it usable? So that's it.
Thank you very much, Artem.
Thank you.
So could it be said that this is kind of expanding on OP return and making it possible to register further data on the blockchain to a bigger extent than the limitations of OP return with more parameters?
Well, I wouldn't say it's an extension. No, I can't say it extends the functionality like well, yeah, let me rephrase it. It can be seen as more advanced technology that includes the same functionality as op return, because the tools inside are different from op return. In op return, you're basically using opcode from Bitcoin scripting language to burn the small amount of crown, and this transaction is not redeemable. Here we have a totally different story. We have a new type of transactions that lets you create new functionality on a blockchain. Yeah.
All right. Really excited about this. I think it's a functionality that extends a lot the possibilities of using blockchain beyond financial transactions, and registering a lot of information can be used also by anyone, by any organization, also on a private level, to say, well, we just want to have public information or accessible information about things we have registered. I'm really eager to see where this goes and who uses it. And yeah, thanks very much, Artem.
Okay, I'm gonna stop screen sharing now.
Any questions now, maybe from anyone still here?
Yeah, so this will be in the Emerald release?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Cool. The session is being long already, and I still have some questions, so maybe we should just move on to these. This question, I think, is for both of you, but maybe we can take Ashot a bit and you take a rest. This question comes from Mamu, and it's a community member. The question, hello, Olia, welcome. This question was asked in Telegram last evening, and it addresses the code. He wrote, what about the outdated code? I read something about it here in the chat where someone said that the code is really old and dusty. Are there any plans to update the code base and make it more future-proof? So this has been an ongoing debate, but maybe you can lose a few words on it.
Yeah, there are some parts in code that are outdated, and also we had old C++ standard there, but recently we added support to new C++, and the new code is written with that new standard. Yeah, there are some code that is taken from old Bitcoin. Yeah, Artem, if you have something to say.
Yeah, this is true that Crown uses a pretty old version of Bitcoin code, and like we had plans to integrate the new Bitcoin changes. We spent significant amount of time on this. It just turned out that our code bases are so diverged at this point because a lot of new functionality was implemented on top of Crown, on top of previous Bitcoin version, but the critical updates, the critical improvements were integrated, but it turns out you can't just integrate them simply, an easy way. You need to do it commit by commit. And I've spent a significant amount of time doing this, and I moved not that far as we wanted. So we do not have resources in order to do this. And anyway, it's a very important task, but we do not have resources for that. And the conclusion I came to of how to do it faster is that we need to take the current Bitcoin version, and we need to integrate the Crown core into the new Bitcoin version instead of doing the opposite, and it's going to be faster. And yeah, it's all about resources mostly, because, well, if we would have a resource who can work on this, we could assign them to this task. But anyway, it should be done at some point, because right now we're working on these features that we see as higher priority features, and this needs to be done anyway.
Okay, I hope this answers your question, Mamu. And we're almost coming to the end of the scheduled questions. I have a few more, but they're shorter and not so technical, I think. Well, I think some of them cannot be answered because we don't have all the information, and we need to ask also other parties involved. One of the questions is, how long will it take to implement Trezor after the address changes?
Jacob told me like half a year ago that the majority of changes are already made in the Trezor code. So as far as I know, it should be trivial. But as you know, Jacob doesn't work with us anymore. So we'll need to have a look on this. But according to him, it's a trivial change.
Okay, so if nothing has changed substantially, we can expect a pretty fast Trezor integration after prefixes have been released, but it will have to be estimated again. Okay, so
I have a question.
Yeah, perfect.
I think somebody actually asked that in Telegram if we'll be able to have nodes on Trezor, or it's not possible. I know, I guess it might be not the smartest question to ask, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Will we still be able to stack Crown, even though it will be on the Trezor?
This question was already asked today, and I think the answer is no. Well, at least using the information I have, but I might not know something.
Is it even possible with other projects to do something like that, or no?
I never heard about it.
Mm-hmm. I would think so too. You either store it in a quality wallet, or you stake in your wallet. I see. Thank you, Artem. A long time no see. I missed everybody.
That's okay.
Yeah, we missed you too, Olia. We have two more questions there from Jan, and Jan is here, so maybe Jan, you can ask them yourself. I think they were about factors of attack and proof of stake, and what happens if a whale buys 50% of all the staking nodes.
Yeah, guys, I think I asked this question to PressTap, but I would like to maybe ask again. So yeah, what moving to a proof of stake is, it has some haters and it has some lovers of the move, of course. And one of the things that the haters say is that proof of stake has also several untackled factors of potential attack, which have not been, let's say, analyzed. One of them could be if a whale which controls, I don't know, 50% or 60% or even more of all the nodes can basically harm the system. So how do you see this in your?
If there is somebody who controls 60% of the nodes, the system is not going to work.
Why?
Like, I mean, it can work if we trust this guy, but the system should be trustless. If you control the majority of the nodes, you can create forks, you can basically perform double spends, and the whole solution of proof of work, proof of stake, and all the consensus mechanisms, the main idea of them is to prevent double spend. And we cannot solve the double spend, it's useless. So answering your question squarely, if somebody's going to buy, I remember you read your question, if somebody's going to buy more than 50%, the first thing is going to happen, the price will skyrocket. And the second thing is going to happen that if that person will be able to control the majority of the coins, they will be able to control the network, basically.
But do we know what is the threshold? Because I remember in the very beginning when PressTap was assigned to do the proof of stake code change, somebody, or I think maybe I asked him, and he was talking about numbers, I don't know, 70%, 80% of the network. But then we and he said that he's gonna simulate it on testnet. I don't know if that ever happened or not. But,
I think
do we
we
know
were
what is the
talking.
threshold, right?
I think we're talking about 20%, 30% of malicious nodes, or the nodes, the same owner controlling those 20, 30%, and that's how we got the 60, 70% number. I do not have information about him simulating this situation, and ideally the threshold is 50%, but 50% is not a magical number. It just the bigger percentage of the nodes controlled by one party, the higher chance of performing a double span attack. So it might happen at 45%, for example, or 55%.
What is a double span?
What?
What is a double span attack?
Well, a double span attack is that when you're sending some coins to me, like 5,000 coins, and I'm saying, okay, Jan, you send me the money, I'm gonna send you the car or any other goods. Like, I mean, you buying a car from me, right? I send you the car, and since you're controlling the blockchain, since you're able to create the longer chain from this point after you receive the goods, you can send this money back to yourself. And now me, after sending you the goods, I will not have the goods, and I will not have your crown, coins, or whatever. So basically it's a creating a temporary fork to make somebody believe they received the asset, the token, the coin, and then basically doing the double spend on another branch, on another chain.
Yeah, but then I'm not really worried about that, because if that's the case, which the largest stakeholder, let's say, would do that, that would automatically mean that nobody trusts the Crown network anymore, and the value of the project goes to zero. And if somebody, that would not be in the interest of the largest stakeholder who spent a lot of, let's say, fiat to buy in, right? So it's really, I don't see it as a huge risk, unless somebody has a private network and does that for cheating. But I was worried that it was worse. Okay.
Well, it depends on the purpose, and one of the arguments for proof of stake is that you do not invest in mining rigs or any hardware, but you invest directly in crown in this case, right? So buying more crown means the price rising. The more crown you own, the more you have economical incentive to make sure this crown is at the high price. You're right, but the risk still exists, and yeah.
Yeah, but if it's a democratically run network, which we are, and let's say a 50 plus owner of nodes, cheats, then nobody else will trust him, and his value basically, or the money he spent buying the nodes, he basically is against himself. But
that's only if he doesn't have time to sell it. What if he sells everything and like it's double what he had as well? But we don't have that much volume, right?
The problem about double spend is that blockchain loses its integrity, and that's the whole point of running a blockchain. So if there is a double spend in a blockchain, it means it's not a secure blockchain, and the damage is not just economic or anything like that. The damage is just that that people are going to lose trust in a blockchain that didn't manage to remain immutable. So Bitcoin is basically there to prevent double spend. That's what it's all about, and that's what Satoshi, that's why what he invented Bitcoin for. So it's definitely something to look out for, but we have to think that at the moment, being merge mined with Bitcoin and only big pools being able to mine us, we have the same risk. We're just lucky that we have honest miners, but this situation could change, and then we could run the risk of being double spend attacked in proof of work setting as well. So anyway, something to keep in mind, and the more node owners we have, the more distributed the network is, the less chance there is for something like this. Okay, guys, I think we're through all the questions. Maybe to wrap up, we could comment a bit on proof of stake. It's a fact that in January, new vulnerabilities were detected, and it's mainly two of them. One of them doesn't affect Crown because we didn't implement headers first sync, and the other one, since these vulnerabilities were disclosed before we implemented proof of stake on mainnet, it doesn't affect us either, since they could be fixed before. And Prestab said that he's working on that, but maybe Ashot, you can elaborate a bit on this.
I didn't have time to look at it actually.
Okay, that's no problem. I have a message from Prestab that I can read, since I asked him. Or it was on the development channel, I suppose. Not sure. Proof of stake. So, yeah, we asked Prestab if he could comment on these vulnerabilities in respect to Crown. And of course, the code that was initially used was also affected by this vulnerability, since the vulnerabilities were disclosed in January, and the code was designed a few months before that. And then he writes, the good news are that Crown's implementation has disabled headers first syncing, and it's something that was discussed, and proper designing led us down the path of no headers first, as they cannot be validated with only a header. Much of these attacks rely on headers, and thus Crown is not affected by it. And then he adds, Crown is only vulnerable to an attack where a valid stake is required as a prerequisite to launching the attack. And he states that he has begun working on preventing this attack, and it will be definitely managed. So he will be leveraging masternodes as trusted witnesses to the validity of the chain. And with this, we can actually state that maybe Crown will be the first proof of stake release that includes the fixes to the vulnerability before being launched, which is also a unique selling point, in my opinion, and something that can be mentioned from time to time. So these are really good news. I don't know, Ashot, if you want to comment, because you've been working a lot on proof of stake code, and we haven't actually discussed a lot about this process. Maybe you feel like saying some more words.
Yeah, I just want to finish the current issues we have and concentrate more on vulnerabilities that might be there and test if that's possible.
Great. So from my side, we're coming to an end. I just leave a few seconds if there's anyone else who wants to say something, ask something, comment. All right. So then just want to thank you all for your time and patience. And I apologize once again for the audio problem we had. It's not optimal, but well, it's just human, I guess. I hope artificial intelligence can then just be exchanged for me, and then it will not do these errors. And
thanks for organizing it.
I would also like to thank all the testers and all the community developers and everyone who's been engaged all these months, which have definitely not been easy months, but we can optimistically say that we're very close to releasing what we've been working on for not just some months, but probably for the last year. So it's a really big milestone, and it's something that we should definitely celebrate when we meet in Manchester. We'll be having a community meeting there on 5th of April. So anyone is welcome to join us there and ask questions live without audio problems. And thanks again, guys. I'm really looking forward to meeting you all there and to releasing this milestone, and really looking forward to being able to communicate it and to use it. So thanks again. I just can't thank you enough all, and have a great evening, and see you soon on the internet and in Manchester.
Thank you for inviting us here, Jose. It was nice talking to you. Thanks for all the questions.
Thanks, Guy, for taking time to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.